How about you steal my December peace plan? Now, you can't steal my December peace because I finally learned how to hang on to peace. And this is going to talk about that. But here are the three quiet decisions that changed everything for me in regards to my experience of December. I realized my Decembers don't feel like everyone else's anymore. And honestly, I am so grateful for that. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped living like a time poor woman and I started becoming a time rich woman. A time rich woman doesn't get swept into the cultural current. She sets her own pace, she chooses her own tone, and she leads her December instead of being dragged along behind it. But I'll tell you the truth, this is not where I started. For years, I thought December was supposed to be chaotic. The hustle, the bustle, the nonstop events, and the pressure to do everything because it was festive. I mean, I grew up watching Home Alone and Elf, and all those movies just showed more is more. Get them, bake cookies, travel, decorate, lots of gifts. They sold me on the holiday chaos is supposed to be a part of the charm. But I'll tell you what's not charming, and that's the fact when I found myself getting the flu 2 years in a row, 4 hours away from my own bed. Now, the first year might have been a fluke, but the second year, I realized maybe me rushing around trying to fit all the things in is creating the exhaustion that is weakening my immune system and giving me the flu. So, that's when, because I remember it so clearly. I'm sitting there wrapped in a corner, wrapped in a blanket, having fever and chills, trying to stay away from everybody because I don't want to pass this on. Came on so suddenly, and I thought, oh, next year is going to be so different, so very different. And that opened me up to the possibility that maybe this isn't normal. Or even if it is normal, maybe it's not for me. And that moment became my turning point. That was the moment I realized December wasn't happening to me. I was allowing it to come at me, to rob me of my peace. So I decided to create what I call my December peace plan. It's not a productivity plan. In fact, it's quite the opposite of a productivity plan. That's what I was trying to do before, was be productive enough that my December felt peaceful. But we came at it from the opposite end. Let's not be more efficient so I can cram in even more obligations plan, but a peace plan because peace is something that honestly doesn't happen by accident. Chaos does. Peace happens when we become intentional. So here are the three decisions that turned my December from chaotic to calm and made it completely different from everyone else's. Decision number one was decide ahead of time how I wanted my December to feel. That's right, chasing a feeling. I'm not actually chasing, I'm anchoring to a feeling. And I noticed when I thought about this question, all the things that I associated most theoretically with Christmas was peace. The song "I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day," especially the version by Casting Crowns, that was my favorite. Or that verse in Isaiah that talks about, "Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Almighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." As a woman of faith, I thought peace was already mine. And because I wasn't feeling peace, I was honestly too ashamed to admit or to ask for help how to create it. I thought there's something wrong with me because I'm supposed to already have peace. But even though I knew the Prince of Peace, I had no time for him. I had no time for the peaceful attitude. I had no room in my schedule to invite the peaceful thoughts in. So that's why my very first decision was decide what I wanted my December to feel like. And for me, that word was peaceful. And maybe you have a different word, a different feeling, like connected, cozy, nostalgic, simple, rested, exciting. You get to choose because this is personal. Only you can create the December that delights you. And you can only do it once you know what it is that would delight you, what you would like to delight in. So deciding the feeling first simplifies everything. All right. The second decision I made was pre deciding what matters most in December. I am recording this on Thursday, November 20th. I believe it'll go live on December 1st. But I just encourage you sit down and make a list of all the things that matter most to you during the month of December and put those in first. You've probably heard the illustration before about putting the big rocks in first and then filling it in with all the smaller rocks and the sand and then the water. I love that illustration. I also hate that illustration. The point is not to fill your jar with as much as you can cram in. But either way, the point is the big rocks come first. So I make my decisions ahead of time. And only you can decide what matters most. Nobody else can do this for you. Your family can't do this for you. Your friends can't do this for you. Your church or your community. You have to decide. For me, my decision includes my marriage, my children, my business, my clients, my health, and my peace. These get blocked in first. So then and only then, when all of that is in, then I see what else fits. When I make all my decisions in November, then when the invitations start rolling in December, I already know. Oh no, I'm not going to squeeze that in because I'm already looking forward to doing this activity with my family and I don't want to feel rushed. Or thank you for the invite. Not this time. Maybe next year. And going back to my story about what started all this, coming down with the flu 2 years in a row. I realized that one of the things that has to fit in December is me, as in self stewardship, as in me being a grown up, taking care of my own health. You know, when you're a grown up, nobody tells you to eat healthy. Nobody tells you to get enough fresh air or exercise. Nobody tells you to go to bed. That's all on you. Nobody is momming you anymore. You have to mom yourself. And a lot of times we're just better at doing that for other people and not doing it for ourselves and or doing it at the expense of ourselves. One of the really, really simple but practical things is around October, I book all of my nail and my hair appointments 3 months in advance. Both my hairstylist and my nail stylist are on board with this because they are both incredibly booked out themselves. They both have very successful businesses. And if you have to cancel your appointment, good luck getting back in. So I hold those spots really sacred. But what that does is it allows me to show up even more confidently to all the extra events, all the extra activities, um, to not be thinking last minute, oh, my nails are a mess. I want to take care of that. Or, oh my goodness, it's been weeks since I've done my hair. No, I don't even think about those things because they are already done. This is not selfishness. This is wise stewardship. Other things that I do ahead of time. I shop ahead of time. I block out the last week of December for my year end planning. I encourage my clients to do the same. And I also make sure that I leave time in my schedule to be available to do year end planning with them if they want. They don't have to. And I leave plenty of margin. I've already got a list going of what I plan to watch this holiday season, and I'm pretty excited about it. I think I've talked about it before on another video. So, deciding ahead of time. Here's what happens when you decide ahead of time. Your December is already full because everything that we say yes to is a no to something else. And we tend to forget that on the spur of the moment, which while I'm thinking about it, if you need help making faster, more confident decisions, I have what's called the 60-second decision filter. Excellent tool, very simple, just 3 questions. And I'll put the link in the description so that you can grab that so you can have that on hand for you during this season because you'll probably get lots of practice using it. So decision number 1 was I decided ahead of time how I wanted to feel for December. Decision number 2 is pre-deciding what matters most. Make room for those things in your calendar in November before the pressure arrives. And then decision number 3. And this is key. This took me a while to figure out how significant this decision is. Decide to delight in your plan, as in make the most of it. We don't plan so we can get more done. We plan so that we can enjoy the doing of what we're going to do. So, planning ahead of time and then delighting in the plan. Here's one simple way that my husband and I practice this. Earlier in the week, he always asks me, "Where do you want to go out to eat?" Or we make plans for dinner on Friday night so that he can make a reservation if necessary. We already have a plan. We're already thinking about where we want to go. I'm already looking at the menu, delighting in what I want to order, looking forward to it. It's the anticipation. It's just like what our kids are wanting to do on Christmas. The anticipation is where the magic is at. That is how we take even the simplest of pleasures and we make the most of it. We don't have to do more to have more enjoyment. Sometimes we need to allow more space so that we can enjoy the things that we've already decided on doing. So, most people are planning their December with dread, but the Time-Rich Woman plans it with anticipation. How do I make this experience feel even more like that word that I chose? So, if my word is peaceful, how do I make my trip more peaceful? How do I make my week that my daughter is visiting me more peaceful? How do I make my work more peaceful? How do I make this day more peaceful? What can I do now to invite more peace in? Peace really does not happen by accident. Peace is definitely something that must be invited in. We have to recall what creates our peace, what gives us peace. We have to remind ourselves that we have access to that no matter the circumstance. So when you decide the tone of your December, you can then begin creating that tone. And that's when December stops being accidental and becomes intentional. Look, peace isn't something that we earn, it's something that we invite in. Like that verse says, "For unto us a child is born, and his name shall be called the Prince of Peace." All those years that my faith told me, "You have peace." And it's like, well, if I have it, then why am I not feeling it? And here's the truth, because I was too busy chasing it to sit down and reflect on it. Let that sink in. What are you chasing instead of resting in, instead of inviting in, instead of making room for in your life? So I decided December was meant to be peaceful. That's the whole point. That's the reason for the season. The Son of God came to earth. All of this hoopla is about celebrating him. And so, therefore, peace is my standard. If it doesn't feel like peaceful, I give myself full permission to say no to it. I'm telling you, the old April, the April that was huddled in the corner of the living room with Christmas flu, second year in a row, she did not have the courage. She was way too much of a people pleaser to do that. But this version of April, who is time rich, who decided this is what matters most to me, and it is worth me figuring it out, no matter how long it takes. I'm sitting on the other side of it, and I'm promising you it's worth it. It's worth it. You do not deserve to live on everybody else's leftovers. You truly deserve only the best. But that has to start with you taking the time to intentionally decide, what does that look like? Look, I don't usually do this on a video, but I will put a link in the description to a clarity call. I will also already have blocked out big portions of my December to experience the peace that I just talked about. So I'm not a hypocrite. But if there's a spot in my calendar, I encourage you to grab it if this is what you're wanting to create and you don't want to create it on your own. If you're wanting to become the time rich woman and you are desirous of help, then book one of those calls. But I do want to say this. If it's your desire, it's within your possibility. It is something you can create. All it takes is clarity, courage, and a commitment to simple action, simplicity. Sometimes that third step is a little bit hard because we like to complicate things, but I won't go into that. Let's keep this video simple. All right. So, my friend, I dare you to go ahead and define how you want your December to feel, and then to believe that it's within your power through God's peace and your choices to create more of that feeling, and then to create, and then to take the time rich woman approach of clarity first, identity aligned, and then simplicity applied. Your life does not deserve the leftovers. You truly deserve the best. And don't forget, if you need help making faster, clearer, more peaceful decisions, then I created a free tool called the 60-second decision filter. 3 simple questions that help you choose what is aligned and help you release what isn't. And the link is in the description. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.